Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to call this video, what happens or what do you do when your amp modeler doesn't sound good? What kind of inspired this was I spent a little bit of time today just flipping through some different amp models. Just, you know, there's a lot of amp models. I use Helix. This particular video is using Pod Go, but it's the same models and tones. There are legitimately amp models on here I've never even pulled up. I kind of have my go-tos. I have the tones that I like, that I use regularly. So I don't spend a whole lot of time just going through every amp, just because usually when I find time to play, I want to either build presets for a reason or, you know, rehearsing for gigs, whatever. But today I had a little bit of time and I was just going through, and most amp models pull up. Default settings are pretty much in the ballpark, a couple tweaks, and it's like, oh, cool, there's another useful amp model. There are some, and this is true. Again, I'm using Helix and Pod Go, but I've used a lot of different brands of modelers, so this is true across the board. Sometimes you just pull one up with the default settings, it just doesn't sound good to your ears. But, you know, I know that none of the amps they modeled, like in this case, line 6, were bad sounding amplifiers. So, you know, in the past when I'm just trying to dial something in quickly, if something doesn't jump out at me, I'll just move on because there are other amp models that work. But anyway, today I was just like, I want to just kind of take the challenge. If something comes up that I don't necessarily like right out of the gate, let me spend a little bit of time with it, a few minutes, and see if I can get it to something good, something that I like anyway. So that's the whole premise, because I've talked to other guys, guitar players that use amp modeling and have shared frustration, you know, that it doesn't sound good when you just pull something up, it doesn't work out of the box, or it doesn't sound good out of the box. And they kind of, some folks, and because I see it on the forums and on the groups, will say, oh, well, Helix doesn't sound good, or the Axe Effects doesn't sound good, you know the tones are in there. There are tons of examples on albums and YouTube videos all over the world of great sounds coming from practically all the units on the market. It's a good time to be a guitar player. Lots of great tones available. So basically, before I ramble too far, what I'm getting at is I'm going to pick an amp model that is one that I've really never used before. I picked one that, you know, immediately didn't sound good to my ear. That's what I'm going to use for this video example. And just spend, just a few minutes, nothing crazy, not going to spend hours tweaking and getting into crazy EQ scenarios where I'm, using parametric EQs to notch out different frequencies. Just, using more or less the amp controls, the right cabinet, the right microphone, and seeing if I can come up with something that I like, and hopefully something that is good, and maybe you guys will like it as well. So I'm going to hop over to Pod Go Edit, and we'll build a preset together and see how it comes out. Okay, guys, so here we are in Pod Go Edit. Whenever you pull up a brand new preset, this is what you get. Unless you save a new default, this is kind of what comes up. So today, the amp in question I wanted to mess around with is one I had not used, never even pulled up before today. I forget when it was added, but it's the Brit Trim Jump. I'm kind of if I want a plexi, I just go to the plexi. So I'd never really tried this one, but I pulled it up today, and I'll just play. It's kind of wasn't really doing it. So I said, all right, this will be fun. Let me do a video about this, see if I can work it out with you guys in tow and see how it comes out. First of all, I know I'm going to want a 4x12. It's a Marshall. It's against the law to not use a 4x12 with a Marshall. Of course, I'm kidding, but so far that's just fizzy and boomy. I'm using my Variax, by the way, Les Paul in the bridge, because it's also against the law to not use a Les Paul in the bridge position with a Marshall. Again, a joke. So yeah, that's just not working for me. So it just sounds really compressed and buzzy, and there's no definition. So let's take a look at what's happening here and see what we can do with it. So right away, if something is all the way on 10, it kind of gives me pause. Sometimes that works, but a lot of times, all the way up on anything, and this is very true with real amplifiers, if you turn the gain all the way up and the EQ all the way up, you're likely not going to get the sweet spot of the amplifier. So that right away, I'm going to pull that down. I don't know, let's just drop it down to 8. Well, it's not as squishy. Oh, actually, too. I'm gonna throw some reverb on. I always like to have reverb on when I'm doing pretty much anything. All right. So, just glancing over, I've got just looking at my recording interface level-wise, so I don't want to push the volume too far, but that sounds very quiet to me. So I'm going to pull the volume up a little bit too much. Okay, so we got a decent volume level there. It's not as bad as it was, when it was just hammered there on the master volume. But it's still, I don't know, it's not doing it for me yet. I always like to start with bringing drive down. You can always introduce more gain, but you definitely can pretty easily overdo it with the gain. So I'm going to start by pulling that down. The other thing I like about pulling the gain down is, to me, it gives me a little more clarity as to what's happening. Still a little boomy. I'm going to pull some bass out. It's a little bit better. Okay, still not as boomy and fuzzy and washed out, but still kind of dark. Not a lot of definition up top. So let's bring some. Okay, all right, getting there. Let's pull some presence up too. Now we're getting somewhere. So it's a little bright, but remember, we're in the bridge position of a Les Paul. If I flip to like a neck position on a Strat, or even like an in-between position on a Strat, so it's actually, I think, in the ballpark of where I would want it to be in terms of high end versus low end. And actually, I think let's try bringing some of this bass back in. Now that we've added up top, let's see what happens when we do that. It's subtle. Actually, this bass control, it's fairly subtle. You're hearing a little bit come in. Okay, I think tone-wise, it's got a decent balance, good clarity to it. Let's see what the mid-range control does on this amp. The reason I say let's see what it does, Marshalls are very mid-range heavy amplifiers, so usually on Marshalls, the bass and treble controls, particularly the bass control, is just kind of like a suggestion to the amp, not a command. But the mid-range can have a pretty big effect. It's interesting. It sounds like there's a bit of gain tied to that knob as well. I say knob, it's kind of like when I say a record. I guess we're to the point now I can say slider. I don't know. Anyway. So there's, you can hear more gain coming in there. And you're starting to get that Marshall thing, that Marshall signature mid-range thing going on. So let's bring a little drive in and drive in. There's another blast from the past, drive in. Let's see what happens. I like it. It's getting a little bit bassy now. I don't know that this bass slider is going to fix that or not. I stand corrected. It is having a pretty noticeable difference. that is yeah, that's definitely getting into good Marshall territory as far as what what I'm looking for when I think of a classic Marshall. Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds good. And again, we haven't done anything in terms of, I haven't turned on an EQ, I haven't added other pedals other than a little reverb. The cab is greenback, as default as you can get, SM57, 80 and 8K. That's very default standard cutoff ranges. So all we've done is basically just adjusted the drive, the master volume, and the EQ section of the amplifier. And we've gone from, in my opinion, something that didn't sound good at all to getting back a little more of that roaring Marshall. Put a little more high end on it and see what that sounds like. Yeah, I think it works for me. So let's see how it will react to maybe a drive pedal. Because I like where we're pushing that in terms of, I mean, we could bump the gain way up on the amp model itself, but I kind of like that as a home bass. We'll go ahead and bump it up for a minute just to see what we get, but so just my own personal opinion, I like the clarity that it retains with the drive down a little bit lower. I feel like I can hit big open chords, and while it's got that kind of that Marshall growl, it's still clear, and you can hear string definition, all that good stuff. So I like that. So let's now see, just because why not? We've got the time and the tools here. What happens if we throw a little drive in front of this amp? Yeah, I like it. It's definitely getting more aggressive. I can pull a little bit of the high end through the drive pedal here down, I think. There's just something satisfying about that Marshall, growl. So I like throwing the Minotaur as the the world famous transparent overdrive, transparent boost, whatever they call it. You just the theory here is you're adding gain but not coloring the tone or adding any real drastic EQ changes. So I think that mid-range character is retained in this particular amp. I'm going to turn the gate on so I don't have to hear that. So still got you hear that mid-range, and it's almost, it's clean enough, dare I say, a little bit jangly almost. And if we get a little more aggressive with the pedal, sounds like rock and roll to me. So, you know, I think I'll stop here. You get the idea. You could keep going and adding different effects or tweaks, trying different cabinets, different microphones. Just a word really quickly on the microphones. Just some of my particular favorites. The 57 dynamic, you really can't go wrong with it. With a 4x12 model, the only time I usually get away from the 57 is if I feel like there's too much harshness in the tone. I just want to round it out a little bit. I may go for a ribbon or a condenser. I'm pretty straightforward in my choices. The 121 ribbon I use a lot on like mid to lower gain tones. Oops, I left it in drop D. In this case, it's a little, maybe a little bottom heavy. I also like the condensers. I usually start with the 67. So I like that. So the 87 sounds like. Yeah, I like what the mid-range is doing with the 87. So let's hear that against the 57. So yeah, the 57 is very bright, present. You know, it's that. I mean, they're used on countless numbers of records for guitar, but I like what the 87 is doing with the mid-range. I think I would go in and add more top end, but. I think I like that, actually. Glad. I like it. So there it is. Actually, I'm just, you know, I'm kind of doing this video on the fly, so I'm debating in my mind if I want to post this preset on custom tone. I don't know, to be honest. I'll have to see how I feel after I edit the video. So if there's a link below, you'll know I decided to post it. Here's my thinking, and here's why I'm debating in my mind. The whole purpose of this video is just kind of to show you kind of steps, you know, here's what to do. Here are the basics of how you want to go about tweaking amps, what you want to look for, what you want to listen for. So I would really rather people see this video, and if they want this tone, pull up a preset and just follow the video and kind of go through the steps yourself. I think that's the best way to learn, in my opinion. So most likely I don't think I'm going to post this preset. I mean, not because you've seen what I've done. I've built it right in front of you, so I'm not trying to hold anything back. I think I'd rather see people build their own. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there's a high demand for this meticulously crafted preset. I guess I'll share it. But I think the point here is that, you know, come in and kind of get your hands dirty and start learning how to do this stuff. Because as you can see, really, it hasn't been. I've taken my time with this too. I mean, I've gone slow and talked a lot. It didn't take a lot of tweaking to really get this to where it was something I would want to use. So I would encourage you to sit down with whatever modeler you're using and just kind of think about, you know, gain staging and EQ and cabinet and microphone before you start doing anything else, throwing any other pedals on. See if you can get the amp model and the cabinet to sound good. Because if it doesn't sound good, anything else you're doing is really a band-aid. You want to start with a good foundation before you build on top of it. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I know it's a little more rambly and slow and noodly than some of my other videos. Or at least I think it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe my other videos are slow too. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if it was in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, all of that goodness. And I always appreciate you guys checking out my content. Thank you so much. Enjoy interacting with you guys. So until next time.